Alright, Crimson Ghost here with another exciting video for the House of Masks YouTube channel. These are my answers to your questions. Some of you submitted questions for the Q&A, both on Instagram and Facebook, so I will go through each one right now. First question comes from a friend of mine on Facebook who says, why are you called, or why is it called, the Crimson Ghost Mask Room? Crimson Ghost was my screen name on various mask forums for many years. I had to pick a name. I chose Crimson Ghost just because of my love for the Misfits, obviously. So that's why this place is called the Crimson Ghost Mask Room, because everybody always associates one another with their screen name. They would say, this mask, I got this mask from Crimson Ghost, or blah blah blah. So hope that answers your question. Next question, let's see here. This next question comes from Irish Loser X. Why did you and AJ decide to share the channel? AJ and I became friends a long time ago, and I think I met him through YouTube at first because I was just getting into painting ghost masks. So after I met him on YouTube, I think we became Facebook friends, and he was always my go-to guy with the ghost masks when I had questions, and he seemed like he knew what he was talking about. So within a couple of years after that, we became pretty good friends. We would meet up at Maskfest, and we talked quite often on the phone or whatever. So just before you know it, he's got tens of thousands of followers, which is crazy. It's incredible. So he approached me and thought it would be a good idea to become part of his channel because my collection is so different than his. And I think it's good because you get the best of both worlds. You get all the new stuff with him, with Slipknot masks, and just crazy shit that I'm not even into. And then here you get all the vintage stuff. So I think it was a really good idea on his part, and it's working. So I just need to make more videos. I'm pretty busy, so it's hard for me to constantly post videos like he does, but maybe that'll change in the future. Alright, the next question is from, where the hell is it? Tarzan Zombie. He talks to me on Instagram pretty often. Will you ever do a giveaway for the red witches you plan on making? That is a good question. I'm actually getting ready to finally make some masks, a run of red witches, and I was going to sell them, maybe like 20 pieces total, like signed and numbered pieces, but maybe I should give one away. I think it'd be pretty cool. The last giveaway was pretty good and a lot of people got in on it, so good question. We will see. Alright, this next question is from Chris Brewer. Have you ever had a mask stolen? Actually, I have. I sold one on eBay, who knows how many years ago, but it was actually stolen in the mail, probably by a mailman, a crooked mailman. Never showed up. I think I got insurance money back for it or something, but it was definitely, didn't make it. I can't even tell you what mask it was, but that's the only time I ever had one stolen. Nobody really comes here too often to steal any of these, so my luck's been pretty good with that. Okay, next question is from Rango24 Masks from Instagram. How much time in your day do you spend looking for masks? Way too much time. When I wake up in the morning, I'm looking for masks online. Before I go to bed, I'm looking for masks online. All through the day, I'm looking. Way too much. But obviously I get the masks, I find a lot of good stuff, so it pays to constantly be looking. I also have some people out there that are always looking for me in other spots when I'm not able to. So, and I always wanted to tell you, if any of you find anything cool or rare that you think I might be interested in, I will pay a finder's fee for good stuff if it ends up in my hands. So if you see something rare out there or some obscure Don Post masks, definitely get in touch with me and I will hook you up, you know, if it becomes a deal and I get the mask. This next question comes from Elias0388 from Instagram, who asks, how old are you? I'm older than you probably think. I'm 43 years old. This next question ties in with that last question about how old I am. Cummins Freak 01 asks, why do you mostly collect vintage masks? Is it just the history behind them, or is there a deeper meaning? Well, the reason I collect the vintage stuff, I guess because I'm pretty vintage. These were around when I was a kid. I grew up in, I think the greatest time in the world was like the late 70s, early 80s, when there was costume shops, you know, we'd actually go to and see this stuff for sale. I would read Famous Monsters magazines or Fangoria, and I would just stare at these Don Post ads for hours and hours, wishing I could buy these masks because they were so expensive back then. As a kid, you'd go into a costume shop with your parents, and the mask could be $60, you know, and your parents would just look at you like you're out of your mind. There's no way they're gonna buy a mask that expensive for you, so you never got them. You got the real cheap little plastic masks instead, you know, like the Ben Cooper stuff, or just cheap rubber masks for like $10. So my collection is definitely a reflection of my childhood, I guess, and all the things I wanted back then but couldn't get, and now I seem to have more than I ever thought I would get. So I hope that answers the question. This question comes from TJSNH, Instagrammer. Where do you get a majority of your masks? eBay, classified, ads, websites, or friends? I'm going to say all the above. eBay is a real big outlet for masks. Everybody I know is searching eBay day and night, hoping, you know, that rare mask pops up. So that's my main go-to, besides mask forums that I've been on forever. Plus, being in this hobby for as long as I have, there's a huge network of guys I know who are always buying and selling and trading. So eventually I'm getting a text or a phone call from somebody, you know, always wanting to move something and hopefully make a deal on it. So that's the answer to that one. Alright, next question is from Lael29, Lael29. What's the deal with foam-filled masks? Why do you recommend it, and what is the cost? The deal is, these masks, over time, one of the main things that will destroy a mask is gravity. They're going to just keep melting and melting and melting. You know, if you threw a mask like this on a shelf, just sit it there with no stuffing in it and not on a stand, over time it's going to be a flat pancake. Over many years it's going to melt. It can turn hard and crack depending on the conditions of the temperature. So foam filling it will help keep its exact shape forever. Like, it's never going to droop, it's never going to start wilting, and it'll prevent cracking, especially above the nose. They only start cracking there. So if you have an outlet to get a mask foam filled, I highly suggest it. Anything in here that's, you know, of pretty good value, I've had foam filled. Probably more than half of these are foam filled. There's probably only a handful of guys that do it. I know I've talked about this in other videos, but you could spend $50 to $100 just to have one foamed properly. And I only deal with one guy who is the best, but he won't take on any other clients. So I guess I'm lucky that I can still get stuff foamed through him. But it's definitely a plus. If you want to keep these masks for a long time, foam filling is great. Or just stuff them with plastic grocery bags, like I've said before. Just stuff them as solid as you can. Don't overstuff them, just keep them nice and firm, and they should last, just as long. Next question from Rancid Meats. What is a good way to judge if a mask is worth cash or belongs in the trash? Look on eBay. You'll know right away. Look up completed auctions. Usually if it's a Don Post mask and it's old, meaning like mid-80s and older, somebody's going to want to buy it. There's a lot of later Don Post stuff that just sits there forever on eBay and no one touches it. But the quality of the mask has a lot to do with it, and just the rarity, I guess. But that's a good way to do it. Just look up the completed auctions, or ask me or anybody else in the hobby. Even there are a lot of cheap masks out there, like rubber 70s Topstone masks that aren't great quality, but they're very sought after because guys like me had them when they were a kid. So you never know. You just gotta kind of do your homework. Next question comes from an Enigma 765. What cheaper masks would you suggest getting to start a vintage mask collection if the person were interested in Don Post masks or similar styles? I would kind of look at old 70s travelers masks, which are actually knockoffs of Don Post, famous Don Post masks. You can usually buy them for $10 to maybe $20 tops. I've got a bunch of them just because they're so weird looking. But Google Traveler's mask. They're from 1977. They're made in Japan. Those masks are pretty cool. A lot of Don Post guys hate them because they were knockoffs of Don Post, but I still like them. That would be a good way to start collecting some of these things. They don't quite look like these. They look terrible, but I still think they're cool. All right. This question comes from Liam Godin. What's your opinion on those horse masks that were popular like 2 years ago? I don't know. I mean, they're funny when people wear them in pictures. Will I ever buy one? No, probably not. They do look funny as hell though when they're in the right photo. But I will never buy one. Next question from Atomic Vomit. He's a buddy of mine from the Nightmare Force mask group. Can I have all or most of your collection? No. This question comes from Darren Fowler, who's a friend of mine on Facebook. He's got like 8 or 9 questions, so I'm going to go over one at a time here. What was your first mask? First mask, you're talking like when I was 4 years old, I think. I had a Ben Cooper pirate mask. But as far as over-the-head rubber masks, I was getting into the Be Something Studio stuff in the early 80s, late 70s, early 80s. So probably around 1978, it would be the Fang Face, Be Something Studios Fang Face, which is really, really sought after right now, and they're kind of gaining in value. That, and I had an Evil Unicorn by Be Something Studios, and from that point on I just kept buying more of those masks. Never really had Don Post masks for quite a long time because they seemed so expensive as a kid. Darren also asks, how do you mix muscle cars and masks? My other hobby is building like high-end muscle cars. Not like every day, but I do. I'm into Mopars. I like all cars, but I've collected and bought really nice Chrysler products like Cudas and Challengers and things like that. I had a 1970 AAR Cuda that was fully restored by the Finer Details, which in my opinion is the #1 restoration shop in the country for Chrysler. Forget that graveyard car shit. But anyway, I restored a 70 CUDA through them, and it ended up becoming a national show winning car. It went undefeated across the entire country and won everything in its path. So I couldn't drive the car anymore. It was too perfect, so I sold that, bought this house with the money, and now I'm building another CUDA. So I'm actually building the Phantasm 2 Black Hemi CUDA. So it'll be pretty sweet. It's almost ready for paint now, so I'll be posting updates on it soon. But I don't mix the two hobbies much. It's always draining my wallet, that's for sure. That is a very expensive hobby, and luckily it could take, you know, a year to a year and a half to properly do one of those cars. So if you want to follow that build, by the way, go to Instagram and look up Phantasm CUDA. I have an Instagram page dedicated to the build of that Hemi CUDA. So they'll be painted soon, and you can check out the progress. Darren also asks, how did you start collecting as a hobby? I've had masks pretty much my whole life, but it wasn't until high school when I started keeping them and displaying them on shelves in my bedroom. You know, when you're a kid and you get a Halloween mask, when Halloween's over, you kind of throw it around or put it in your toy box and forget about it, or, you know, it just kind of gets lost. But high school, my whole room was dedicated to horror stuff, all horror movie posters and stand-ups and models, and I started putting masks on shelves, you know, because they look great displayed. So I would say freshman year, I was really getting into collecting them more. I didn't have nowhere near this many. I probably had, you know, 10 masks for a long time. But back then it was a lot harder to find them. You couldn't just go on the internet because there was no internet. You had to like physically drive to a convention or garage sales. You still had costume shops, obviously, but it wasn't like it is today. All right, this question is from J-Boy Jock. J-Boy Jock or J whatever. What is your favorite Maskfest memory? I don't know. Get pretty drunk at times late at night at Maskfest, so lots of crazy things go on. But I would just say scoring cool masks. I bought some pretty incredible pieces there. I'm so excited to go there and see what Connor Dellis, you know, makes for each show. He debuts like a really incredible piece that I end up buying. So that's always like a highlight, you know, showing up to see what Connor's got on display. The best part of Maskfest is just hanging out with everybody, and, you know, all the mask people from Facebook are usually there. It's a good time. Okay. Darren asks, which masks are you really wanting? In 1966, Don Post put out a monster calendar. Which a lot of you are familiar with because there's these reissued calendar masks that were made in 1998. The original 60s calendar masks are almost non-existent, and I definitely am on the hunt for the original masks. So you can Google those and look them up. They're, you know, classic Creature from the Black Lagoon, the Mummy, Frankenstein, Wolfman, all those guys. But they reissued them in the 90s, and those reissues are pretty popular. But those original, you know, 60s versions are like, I don't even know anybody that has them. So I really want them. This question is from Darren again. What makes you most angry when asked questions from an unfamiliar in the hobby? Um, a lot of people walk in this room that aren't in the hobby, like friends or relatives, and they just kind of look at me like I'm insane. Like, why do you have this in your house? That's probably one of the biggest questions. Why do you collect these? I don't understand. I'm like, why do you collect baseball cards? It's stupid. But another question would be, I always get, how many do you have? How many masks do you have? And I have no idea. I count them like once every 6 months, but a few hundred, 300 masks or more probably. Another question I get is, do you wear these? And I just go, oh, I never wear them. And then people just look at me like I'm even crazier. But I don't get too many questions that drive me crazy other than guys saying, I could post a picture on Instagram of this whole wall of very rare masks, and you'll always get that one guy that says, no Myers mask, where's your Myers mask? It's like, fucking get off this Myers thing. I'm so sick of hearing about Michael Myers. Anybody that knows me well knows that I can give two shits if another Myers mask is ever produced for eternity. Alright, we have enough, and I don't care to hear about those anymore. I don't care to hear about hockey masks. I'll probably get a lot of shit over that statement, but I lived through the whole Halloween and Jason thing. I grew up waiting for every Friday the 13th to come out, and it was like the greatest thing in the world. But how much can you talk about a hockey mask? Like, give me a break. Anyway, I still respect them. I'm not totally dissing them, but I've got one Myers mask. Maybe I'll buy another one. So, sorry if that offends some of you, but that was a question I had to ask. I just don't get on kicks or bandwagons because everyone wants a Myers mask. I gotta have the greatest Myers mask. No. Okay, this next question is from Red Rum 1031. What is your holy grail? Sell your left nut and smash your right one under a cinder block just to be able to hold it, or even be in the presence of it. I own the holy grail of the mask world. I'm sure a lot of you heard me brag about it, but it's the 1972 Vern Langdon zombie. The mask was pretty much non-existent for a very long time. There's one fully restored copy out there that a friend owns, another collector. The copy I have is unrestored. It's pretty much original paint, original hair, 100%. The only known copy to exist in that state. There's supposed to be a third copy somewhere that's in pieces or falling apart, but that was one of the holy grails I've always been wanting. The other would be back to those calendar masks I spoke of. Just being able to own the original Glenn Strange Frankenstein that Pat Newman sculpted would be pretty crazy. I've got the Halloween 3 masks. Those are probably some of the most important masks to me, because I wanted them since 1982. I saw the masks before I even saw the movie. If you read Fangoria as a kid back then, it was just mind-blowing how cool that magazine was. And on top of it, you had all these mask ads in the back. And I remember just staring at that pumpkin and witch and the skull in the ad, and I thought it was the coolest thing I ever seen. And they were like $50, so I knew there was no way in hell I was going to own them. And then you'd open up, to the middle of the magazine, and you'd see the pictures of the film with the mask coming out of little buddy's, or the snake coming out of little buddy's mouth, and all the bugs, and it was just so weird not knowing much about the film, or not seeing it. So the masks, they were kind of this really weird thing that I was after for many years. I think I finally saw the film in 1984, and I've loved it ever since. The Ginger Baker Fever asks, what is your favorite mask? Like favorite of all time. I don't even think I could answer that question. I don't even know. The H3 masks were definitely some favorites because they, like, I have a history with those, wanting them, since I was a kid. These Timberwolf masks, I always wanted them when I was little. I would stare at them in the magazine, and they look so cool in the old Famous Monsters ad that Don Post ran. I just never thought I would have them, so finding things like that is pretty awesome when you've wanted them your whole life. But there's lots of stuff out there that I really want to find, but that's what makes this hobby interesting. You never know if you're going to get it or not. So favorite, all-time favorite, there's many. I can't really put my finger on one mask. All right, this question is from Drowned Boy Cosplay, who wants to know, what is the best cereal? I don't know. I like the Monster cereals, of course. Best cereal? Again, I can't answer that. Fruity Pebbles are pretty awesome. This question comes from JD Loves You. What is a good way to tell the difference between vinyl and latex, since they can feel and look similar? Also, what is your favorite movie, TV show, and band? Vinyl has a very distinct smell to it. They're two different, it's kind of weird to say that, but they smell different. If you really smell a vinyl mask and a latex mask, you'll know what I'm talking about. Vinyl masks are usually like a kind of a heavier feel, like in the texture. Like a vinyl Don Post mask is usually real thick and kind of heavy duty, and they last forever. Latex kind of deteriorates over time. You rarely ever have to foam a vinyl mask from back in the day. You just kind of have to own one of each to see what I'm talking about. I don't think I could physically describe it, too many differences on how you can tell. Start smelling your masks. My favorite TV show? I don't want to date myself too much here. Like Munsters, Addams Family, Miami Vice, Twin Peaks, Walking Dead. It's all over the place. I don't think there's too many more out there I really love, but I'm all over the place with that question. Favorite band? That was another question, by the way. What is your favorite metal band? Top 5 metal bands? I don't even know. I can't even tell you. That was a question from, if you're 5'5", then I'm 6'6". I followed Danzig around for many years. Metallica when they were incredible. There's always all this hate for Metallica now, which is kind of funny, but back then, before the internet, if you didn't listen to a band or you didn't like a band, you didn't go crazy telling everyone they suck. Fucking Metallica sucks. Everyone goes crazy. They were the most amazing thing any of us had seen back then. So, of course, I'm going to love them now. I agree, I didn't care for some of the later stuff, but, stuff changes. What can you do? Now I'm really into Ghost. I'm sure a lot of people hate them too, but I could give a shit. This question is from Garrett S. What do you do for a living? How do you buy all these masks all the time? I'm in the diamond business in Chicago and Northwest Indiana. I've been doing this for probably 25 years or more, maybe 26 years. I've been in the jewelry industry. I've been self-employed for probably over 14 years now. I sell loose diamonds. I'm a private jeweler. I don't deal with just walk-in retail clients. I work all by appointment only. I sell, anything. whether it's a carat. I've sold 22 carat diamonds, you know, for hundreds of thousands of dollars. But most of my business is bridal stuff, engagement rings, and wedding bands, and things like that. But I make everything. I custom make jewelry. I can manufacture anything. If you come to me with a picture and you want it, I'll make it perfect. So that's my main gig. I do other things. I flip cars once in a while. I'll buy and sell muscle cars and sell them. But main gig is diamonds. Here's one other question from a guy on Facebook named Tony, asking, what do I see in the future of collecting? Will I continue collecting, and will I expand the mask room? The answer is yes. I'm definitely going to keep collecting probably for the rest of my life. I do have plans on expanding this room. I have a very large basement down here, and this is just one room. I have an entire empty basement I'm going to remodel, but I plan on starting to put masks out there in the future. But a big thing that's on my mind is this is a big might, but I may open a Halloween mask and monster museum in the future. Not anytime soon, but it could be between 5 and 8 years from now. Like, that's definitely on my mind. So there's some very big things happening with other collections I know of, and it's definitely a possibility. So my fingers are crossed, and hopefully I can actually open something as an attraction and have everyone come and see it. Alright, that's about it for the questions. Thanks for following the page and submitting your questions. I'm happy to answer them anytime. Maybe we'll do another one in the future. Hope you weren't bored to death by listening to me talk. So thank you, and take care.